Okay, let's talk fractions, the very basic of fractions. All right, so first off, what is a fraction? A fraction is a part of a whole. A fraction is going to have two main parts. We're going to have a numerator and a denominator. What's the significance of a numerator and a denominator? Okay, well, our numerator is going to be our top number. Our denominator is going to be our bottom number, or I say down. Why do I say down? D for denominator, D for down. All right, so how do I know what's a numerator and what's a denominator? Okay, a numerator is parts used. A denominator is the parts available. All right, so I drew some circles here. All right, and I divided them. I cut them in half or in quarters and in eighths and so forth. So on this first one, how many parts do I have available? I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 4 parts available, which is going to be my denominator. If I use this part, then I have used 1 out of the 4 available. So 1 is my numerator, it is my used part. 4 is my denominator, which was my total available parts. Let's go to this one over here. How many available parts do I have? I have 2 available parts. 1, 2. So 2 is my denominator, the parts available. And if I use this part, that means I used 1 out of 2 available. Again, numerator, parts used, denominator, available parts. So let's see how many available parts I have on this. It's like a piece of pizza here, a whole pizza pie. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have 8 available parts. That is my denominator. And I'm going to use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I've used 5 out of the 8 available. So my fraction is 5 out of 8. Here I have a circle, and I have 1, 2, 3 available parts. So that's my denominator. And then if I used this part right here and this part right here, I have used 2 out of 3. I've used 2/3. Again, a fraction is a part of a whole. And if that part of a whole, I have a numerator, the parts I've used, the denominator, the parts I started with, the total number of available parts. When we use a ruler, it also has fractions, and I'm going to demonstrate that with you in a second. Let me get a ruler, let me draw one on the board, and I'll be back with you in a second. Okay, so I have a ruler. It's an inch ruler, it's 12 inches. And in between these inches, let's see if I can put it, okay, so we have a 0 and we have a 1. In between these inches, these are fractional parts of a whole. It's easier to do the 1/4, which is the medium-sized line. Then you have a little bit larger line right in the middle, halfway between 0 and 1. That's your halfway mark. And then you have another middle line here. That's the 3/4 line. And then you have a whole. So we have 4/4 in a whole. 4 over 4 would make one whole. We have 2 halves. There's a half. There's a half. There's a half. So there's 2 halves in a whole. You also even have 8ths and 16ths. So if you ever wanted to know how many 8ths make a whole, you'd have 8 8ths. If you ever want to know how many 16ths make a whole, 16 over 16. Anytime your numerator and your denominator is the exact same number, means you have one whole number. You have one whole thing. All right, so demonstrating this out a little bit, we're just going to practice with the fourths. All right, so we're going to start. Here's a 0. Then we're going to have 1/4. Here we will have 2/4. Later we know to reduce that's our 1/2 mark. And then we're going to have 3/4. Then our longer inch line is 4/4, which 4/4 makes a whole. So here I'm going to have 1 1/4. Here I'm going to have 1 2/4, which goes to 1 1/2. Here I'm going to have 1 3/4. And here I would have 1 4/4. Well, that's 1 plus 2, or 1 plus 1. So I have 2 inches. Here I'm going to have 2 1/4. 2 2/4, which goes to 2 1/2. Then 2 3/4. And then 2 4/4, which is going to give me 3. It's always a fourth, a half, 3/4, a whole. A fourth, a half, 3/4, a whole. And so you can see the 2 halves. Here's a half, and there's a half. So I'd have 2 halves in a whole. So it would be a half or a whole. But we're doing fourths right now. Again, it'd be a fourth, a half, 3/4, 4/4. And again, 4/4 would make a whole. 1 4/4 is 1 plus 1 is 2. 2 4/4 is 2 plus 1, which is 3. All right. Now I have some Skittles. I have this jug of Skittles right here. All right. So I have this jug of Skittles, and I have dumped some out into the lid. If you can see, I dumped some out in the lid. So we're going to do fractions with Skittles. All right. I've already pre-counted my total number of available parts. And just so you would know, the total available parts is 30. And now I just dropped a purple one, so we have to remember that there's a purple one on the floor. All right, so I have 30. But I want to know how many red ones I have. See, this is why fractions are important. I can break these up and have parts of a whole. So if I put them all back on here, and remembering my purple one, let me pick up the purple one. All right, so as you can see, here's my Skittles. We're going to count out the red ones, and if you can see, there's 4 of them. So we have 4 red Skittles. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. So my red Skittle fraction would be 4 out of 30. Now we could reduce some of these, but I'm not going to get into that right now. Again, we're just doing the very basics. All right, so we're just doing our fractional parts of our fractions with our Skittles. All right, let's do green. Again, total available was 30. We started with 30. How many green did I have at this one? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, so I had 6 green ones. Let's go yellow. All right, again, we have 30 total. And of yellow, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right, so now we have orange. And of orange, I have 3. 1, 2, 3. And so my last color is purple. Started with 30 total. In purple, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right. Now we can check to make sure we did our fractions right, because I told you I had 30 total Skittles to begin with. All right, let's count my numerators. I have 4 plus 6, that's 10. Then I have 10 plus 12, that's 22, plus 8 would be 30. 30 over 30 is equals 1 whole group, and that's what we started with. So again, you can take food. Food is always good, brownies, pizza, cookies, all right? And you split it into groups. That splitting into the groups is a fractional part of what you're using or what you have there to use. Again, the new denominator, the total number available, is the bottom number, the down number, denominator, down. And then you have the numerator, the top number, parts that we have used. I hope this breaks it down for you a little bit better for you and a little bit slower. But remember, a fraction, part of a number, part of a whole. Then you have a numerator, the top number, the parts that have been used, the denominator, the down number, the bottom number, the total number of available parts. All right, have a great day.